Have you ever been forced to buy a new truck 1,000 miles away from home? Well, we have been. We have a new truck, and it's a beauty, but we have a whole big story to tell about the loss of the old one. This is RV Miles. Welcome to episode number 331 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby. And we are two RVers who, along with our boys, have been crisscrossing all over North America on one epic road trip since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from industry news to brand new trucks to being 1,000 miles from home and so much more.
We have returned home. We are coming to you for the first time in a while from the Mile Zero studio here in Rock Island, Illinois.
The humidity-free RV Mile Zero
Oh, it's
studio.
actually been really nice. The last couple of days have been like in the lower 70s. It's great.
It's like the Quad Cities just wanted to remind us that living here is a good thing.
Not bad. Speaking of, I saw the most Midwestern thing that I've ever seen just a few minutes ago, and I have to share. I've been trolling Facebook Marketplace a lot lately, just to see if like cheap items that we might want for the studio pop up. And the thing that came across my feed today was a person that was canning jars of jellied Mountain Dew.
Delicious.
And she was she had a lot to say in the description about the people that have been sending her PMs making fun of her.
Which is awful. Don't do that. Like, this is, not that I'm rushing to buy the Mountain Dew jelly. I mean, the Mountain Dew is a whole other subject. It's preferred by Jason, disliked by me. But I mean, let her sell her Mountain Dew jelly and see what happens. I mean, the next thing you know, she could be like a little pop-up store. Who knows?
This is a very popular Pepsi Mountain Dew area.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because there's a big bottling plant here. But it's always cracked me up that, like, when you travel the country, it's like if you go to a nice restaurant, yeah, you could get a Coke if you want, but this is the only place I know where you can go to a nice steakhouse and have a Mountain Dew with your steak.
Nothing says filet mignon like a nice ice cold glass of Mountain Dew. Yes. So I would like to point out, though, that clearly Facebook, when they're like, oh, Jason Epperson's back on Marketplace
again. They know
again.
who they're talking
Yeah,
to.
they knew their audience, okay? That would be like me getting some sort of, Jane Austen-esque calligraphy set that someone
Let me grab my Cherry Coke Zero here.
And you're also getting a text.
Ding.
Our son is actually down the street from the Mile Zero studio right now, editing the America's National Parks News from the Parks episode. We've talked about how Jack is working for us now. So he comes in after Jason records a video, and he does the first run of the cut for Jason, gets sort of all of the extras out of it. And he just sent us a text letting us know that he's drinking an energy drink right now, which I'm sure is going to go over well. And that is going to be the fastest edited news video ever. Because if the Quad Cities doesn't love Mountain Dew and Pepsi more than energy drinks, I will be very surprised, because this town loves their energy drinks at their coffee houses. It's the craziest thing.
All right, we got a lot to talk about this week. We're gonna share the story of our new truck. We're gonna talk about a couple things that happened on our travels. We're gonna talk about staying out of Love's, their new travel stops, which is a really interesting thing.
Their RV stops is what they're called. But I
guess travel stop is the name of the truck stop, is what they're not calling them truck stops anymore. They're calling them Love's Travel Stops, and now they have the RV stop.
We'll get into. It's a whole thing. Let's save it for the tanks. We're going to talk about that in the tanks. But before we get to the truck, which I know so many of you want to know what the heck is going on. How on earth did you guys end up with a new truck? You literally were just going on an RV vacation. But before we get to that, I know, it wouldn't be RV Miles if we didn't come back with something incredibly expensive and, unplanned for. So
It's 3 children.
Hey, 2 of those
Two
were
were
planned.
planned,
Stop
okay.
it. 2 of those were planned. All 3 were planned. Stop it. Jack's going to edit this. We talked about that. All
He
right.
knows.
So, anywho, back to the world of RVing. I wanted to make sure that we grabbed this piece of news because you have it in the news video, what we're going to talk about, which just came out this week. So you should go over and check that out. That has been a very hot topic news video this week. But
Boy, is it ever.
but also when we were having our mile marker monthly get together on Monday night, it's something we do the first Monday, or we had rescheduled this one because of vacation. We do a monthly get together with mile markers. And so what we discovered as we were talking about this FMCA news that we're going to talk about was that there were some FMCA members in there who did not know.
Oh, I think most FMCA members don't know this news yet because they haven't made any official announcements.
No,
it's kind of wild that they voted on this and it's happened and they haven't made official announcements. But I have been able to confirm at least half of this. It's that FMCA, Family Motor Coach Association club that's been around for 60 some years,
61 years,
is changing its name to the FRVA, Family RV Association, in order to show that they're encompassing more than just motorhomes.
Right.
And that's something that has been going on since 2017 when they added towables. The organization has been struggling, and that part of that struggle was then we're going to add towables on so that we can sort of boost up our membership because it was reducing. FMCA used to be a place where before YouTube, before the internet and forums and all that,
before RV Miles,
if you wanted to learn about RVing, you might get a magazine. Or you might go to an event or rally where you can take lots of classes and learn about this stuff. And FMCA's big conventions, there are many, many local chapters, and their magazine were all a big part of that for a lot of people. They had conventions in the 90s that had up to like over 8,000 RVs at them. Imagine that, 8,000 RVers, not RVers, RVs, with probably 2 people in them at least attending.
So before we get further into this, let's talk about where this information came from, though, because we got a lot of this from people that were attending the convention that just happened. So this all was decided upon there, correct?
Yeah, FMCA is a nonprofit organization. Okay, so when they make changes, there's a lot of bureaucracy involved. It involves some of the main chapters and stuff. It involves, all the board of directors and all that sort of stuff. And they take care of a lot of this business at their 2 annual conventions that they have. And they just had the one in Redmond, Oregon. And so there were meetings that this happened at. And part of this was this name change. And this is the thing that is definitely 100% confirmed. The name is changing to FRVA. Though they have made no official announcements about that. The other part of this that we heard from folks attending this meeting is that they're increasing the price. And part of the problem is the struggle of keeping up with what they're doing while losing membership, but also the increased cost of what they provide. So one of the biggest things they provide is, I always say this wrong, it's FMC Assist. Wonder if they'll change the name of that.
I was wondering if it would become FRV Assist.
So this is an emergency evacuation insurance, which is probably the best reason to be an FMCA member.
Well, we have talked about this for
many
5
times in the past.
years.
We were deep in the process of actually using that benefit when I had my brain surgery. It turned out we couldn't use it because I had to stay at that hospital. But this benefit, which is included in your membership, was going to send us all and probably me on a sort of medvac from Minot, North Dakota, back to Illinois, and pay for somebody to tow our trailer back to Illinois.
In fact, We were deep in discussions and paperwork exactly 5 years ago.
5 years ago right now.
This week.
Yeah.
Like, this is the 5-year anniversary for Jay.
Yeah.
And this week, which is so interesting that there's been such a large amount of FMCA news this week because, before you got sick, we were at that convention.
Well, and that's why, because the
Minot.
convention happened at the same time, right?
Yeah,
so that's the reason.
Yeah, we were at that convention.
Yes.
We had seminars that we were going to do.
Yeah.
We had an RV Miles podcast booth. I mean, there were a lot of really fun things that were supposed to happen for us at the convention. We got to enjoy like 2 days of it. And then, the dam broke and things got a little wild for us for a while. But, just our experience with that assist was really so impactful that we have sung the praises of it now for 5 years. And when we heard through the rumor mill that it was potentially on the chopping block.
Yeah, they were considering getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Because the cost of it has more than doubled from their provider. So it's gone from I think it was like 60 cents a month per member to $1.90 or something per month per member. And when you add that up, over the course of the year, you're talking about somewhere around at least $20 a year per member. So when the membership is already it's $60 for the first year and then $50 per year after, if you want to keep that, you're probably raising membership dues, right? And on top of that, the organization's kind of been operating at a loss for a while now because they've been scared to raise rates because they don't want to lose members. So it's sort of like a self-sacrificing thing. You raise rates, you lose members, you lose money, you gain money, and does it work out? How does it work out? Right. And the cost of things has gone up, and like the cost of printing the magazine, I'm sure, has gone up, all that sort of stuff. So the decision apparently that was made that we've heard through sources that has not officially been announced yet, is that they are going to keep the FMC Assist program, which is great, and the magazine, which is great. These are the main reasons to become an FMCA member. The thing they're going to do is increase the price. We've heard that it's potentially going to be $100 a year. So that's essentially a doubling of the price. So that's also going to lose members. Their concern with raising prices is the last time they lost some members, and maybe they've waited too long to do it. So now they've got to raise it too much. Anytime an organization like that was so huge has to downsize, they lost their executive director. There was a parting of the ways several weeks ago that we reported on. We don't know really who made the decision, but their executive director has moved on, and there are just changes afoot there. They were one of our first sponsors.
Yep, they took a chance on this little podcast years and years ago.
They're not a sponsor anymore, but we have loved the people there. We truly wish them the best and hope that they can navigate through this and find some solutions to turn the organization around a bit. I think a lot of the problem is some of the warring factions within it. You've got people that are really old school and don't want things to change. And you got people that are saying, hey, if they don't change, this is going away.
Right. Well, right now they have, like I said to you this morning, they have a bucket with a lot of holes in it, and they just keep pouring water in there. And that bucket will never fill if they don't start patching some of the holes. And they have the capabilities of doing it. And they have a loyal base of people that love that organization, that have been a part of it for a long time. We know our friends, Peggy and Tony over at Stressless Camping, they've been heavily involved over the last few years at the international conventions, giving seminars and speaking.
And when you look at it too, so I said that, in the 90s, they might have had 8,000 plus people at one of these events. In the early 2000s, maybe 5,000. This last event in Redmond, Oregon, 700 rigs, 700 RVs showing up,
which we would all say is an amazing number, right? Like,
it
if we had
like
seven,
a crash in the vault for them, but it's amazing. I'm 700 RVs,
right? Could you imagine if we had 700 rigs at homecoming? I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
The campground doesn't hold 700 rigs.
No, that's why they go to
very large campgrounds hold 200 rigs.
Right. Well, that's why they have them at these fairgrounds. They have to have these large spaces. There is a a need for FMCA to try and reach a new generation of RVer. That's very clear. The beginning of the changing of the name, I think, is part of that. They started this years ago with opening it up to towables, but as long as it was Family Motor Coach Association, just hearing FMCA without knowing, oh, well, I can still join even though I have a towable, it's not enough. To make this move to FRVA is smart, it's needed, and now they just have to figure out how they can turn these international conventions into events that are attracting new RVers. It's very difficult. Part of the problem too, and we keep our events really small for a reason. There are a lot of rallies now. There are a lot of organizations. There are a lot of places that you can go and spend your time between RV show season that kicks into gear. I mean, we've got Hershey getting ready to come up, so there's going to be a lot of people at that. Then you've got Florida, then you've got Quartzsite, and then there's so many different, escapees, FMCA. Everyone's got RV miles. Everyone has a rally, right? So it's hard to attract some, like for us, I would love to go to an FMCA event. I can't get to everything that's out there. We'd love to go to Hershey. We cannot go to Hershey.
Yeah.
It's just, we don't have the time.
And we actually do have some news from a couple different rally type situations later on in our tanks. But we should talk about our rally right now.
Yeah, we get to go
just
first.
Just to give you a quick reminder that we've got our homecoming rally coming up October 9th.
Through the 13th in Amana, Iowa. We know that devoted listeners of this podcast have heard this over and over, but we always want to make sure that if you're new to the show, you know that we would love to see you as well at homecoming.
It's such a great location. Amana is this cool historic German settlement.
Yeah.
That there's like wineries and shops and butcher and all sorts of stuff. There are great things to do there, but then the campground is set up for, it's run by the town, the whatever, the visitors bureau, and it has giant sites. They're $35 a night and they're full hookups.
And they have given us, as part of this event, we have our own enclosed indoor party area, I guess, so regardless of the weather, we are not concerned. We have a, kitchen that's going to be in there, bathrooms that'll be in there. We have space for all of us to stay nice and dry if it's rainy and cold, or to open up the big garage doors that are in there and let the beautiful fall sunlight in. So one of the things that Jason and I have realized with our homecoming, with our rally event, is beyond the big sort of main focus that we've been talking a lot about, which is the RV consumer roundtable. The seminars that we're hosting, they have an educational component to it, but they're really at the heart of the community that is attending. We have people that are coming to this event who are going to share their experience and their knowledge as RVers beyond some of the more basic RV discussions, right? So we're really trying, there are so many other rallies out there that do education-based events really, really well. We need to let them do their thing. We have kind of come to realize that our thing is about celebrating RV life and having fun together and playing some really silly games.
We're going to play games. We're going to have trivia. We have a big communal meal every night, and it's all around a good time, and you meet new friends, and it's a reasonable amount of people. There's going to be maybe 100, 120 people there, and everybody gets to know each other and just has a good time celebrating sort of the end of the middle of the year camping season. If you're from this part of the country, it's really the end of the camping season. If you're from somewhere else, maybe it's not. But,
yeah, so maybe if you're passing through this way and you're headed to your winter destination, or you're going to go to some warmer weather states, come through Iowa and come see us October 9th through 13th at the RV Miles Homecoming Rally. Tickets are $225 per person. That covers all the meals and the activities that we will have for those 3.5 days. If you're a mile marker member, you get a discount. The ticket is only $200. So if you're not a mile marker member and you want to become one to save a little extra, certainly we'd love to welcome you not only to homecoming, but to our mile marker community as well. So it's going to be a really fun time. It's going to be something that is constantly evolving as we listen to the community and as we invite the community to be a part of this and sort of the way that we all spend time together.
All right, we're going to talk about our truck here in a minute. But first, chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around. You'll find them on highways and campgrounds and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. From award-winning tow bars and base plates to a full line of weight-distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and now they have fifth wheel hitches too. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. Visit blueox.com for more information. Harvest Host is a membership that allows RVers to take a rest from the road and enjoy unlimited overnight stays at over 5,100 unique locations in North America, such as breweries, wineries, farms, attractions, and much more. Easily plan and book your next RV trip and enjoy over $1,500 in exclusive member benefits by joining Harvest Host. Get 15% off your first year of membership with the code MILES. That's MILES. Go to harvesthost.com to become a Harvest Host member today. Okay, as we made our way through our big summer adventure, a 6-week-long trip. We started 2 weeks in Charlottesville, Virginia, worked our way into the Raleigh-Durham area and to Savannah. We started having some issues with our truck.
Yeah, things started getting a little weird, like some stuff, some misfiring, some sounds we couldn't quite try to shake off or justify.
It felt like we were getting a bit of a feeling of a misfire when we gave it a lot of gas. So if you're not familiar, we had an F350 with the 7.3 liter gas engine. It was a 2021, which I believe is the second year this engine was out, maybe the second or third year that this engine was out.
It had 72,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
We'd been up to Alaska.
We've been all over the place.
Yeah. It was an awesome truck. And
it was great. We loved everything about it until this happened.
Until we didn't love it. And it didn't love us anymore.
So what I thought was going on was that we had some sort of either fuel delivery issue, like a clogged injector or something, or we needed a new spark plug or perhaps new plug wire. I actually had to change the plug wires way back at like 36,000 miles because that's a common problem with this engine is that plug wire thing. But I thought it was going to be really something simple like plugs because, we're about at they'd say you should change your spark plugs around 80,000 miles, maybe a little less if you tow heavy, and we do. So kind of thought that it was going to be a simple fix, something like that.
Yeah. No, we don't tow outside the range of what this truck could do. We tow heavy, but we don't tow over. And so when we were visiting friends in the Raleigh-Durham area, Jason went out and he, went and did some problem solving things of things he could do to maybe help the truck's performance along because we needed to move from there on to Savannah. So he goes out and he does these things for a few hours and we leave the area and we make our way towards Savannah Lakes RV Resort, which is actually in South Carolina, Hardyville, South Carolina, not far from Savannah. And the truck is fine the whole time. There is not a lick of an issue with this truck for the whole, I think, it was several hours that we were on the roads. And we thought, oh, okay, maybe we have problem solved this. Maybe it was some of the fuel injector things that we thought.
I ran injector cleaner through it and stuff like that.
Yeah. And we thought, you know what, we're going to get home and it's going to be time for some 75,000 mile maintenance on Fordo. And, we're going to get this taken care of. And we get to the RV resort. We're there all week long. I run some errands that week without the RV obviously attached to the truck. I'm just out driving the truck around. Truck is fine. Not feeling anything. I'm on the highway. I'm accelerating. We're not getting no response off the truck to what we had the previous week. So it is now time for us. It's a Friday. And it is time for us to load up, and we're going to head from Savannah. We're going to go to St. Augustine for the weekend before going on to Disney. And we're going to enjoy St. Augustine. We are also at the same time that all of this is happening. It's the first week of August. And we are also up against what at that time was a tropical wave out in the Gulf that we were keeping an eye on as to whether or not it was going to become tropical storm, if it was going to become a hurricane. Where was it going to go? How was it going to turn when it gets into the Gulf? Because we are heading for Florida. So we are heading potentially in the path of this hurricane towards Disney World. We hook up. We are, we are barely out of that campground and onto the highway, and the truck just loses its ever friggin' loving engine mind.
Yeah, we're getting like, it was clearly misfiring, but then we're also getting like pop, pop, pop in the exhaust. So what that was, fuel that wasn't burning in whatever cylinder, making it through the exhaust where it was hot, and, it makes up a pop. And
so while this is starting to happen, we say immediately, okay, we can't continue on. Yeah. Like there's no way we can limp this thing to St. Augustine and then
to Orlando.
So while we're on the highway, because we're getting sort of intermittent, like it'll go and then it starts the thing back up again. I am frantically Googling and looking for a Ford mechanic in the area along the highway that we're on. So I am looking, and I find one, and I call them. And I say, look, we're traveling with an RV through the area. I've got a Ford F-350 that seems to be misfiring. Something's going on with the engine. We're hearing some backfiring from the exhaust. If we come over there, can you guys take a look at it? I'm thinking, it is like, noon on Friday. Like, could this be any worse? It was a little bit earlier than that, actually, because we tried to get out. So it was like morning on Friday. Yeah. So this is a certified Ford mechanic.
Yeah, it's like one of those truck service centers. Yeah. It's not it's not owned by Ford, but it's also not a dealership. It's just like so when we got there, the lot's just like full of like all sorts of like delivery trucks and heavy trucks. There was actually a tornado chase vehicle, like a storm chaser vehicle in there that was, I wish we got photos of that. That was really cool.
That was cool. So they say, yeah, absolutely. Bring it on over. We can get someone to look at it.
So they take a look at it, and guy comes, I'm like sitting in their like driver's lounge, and the guy comes into me and he's like, just stay sitting down. And it's like, this isn't going to be a fuel issue. It's not going to be spark plugs, anything like that. I've seen this many times now with this engine. It's going to be your lifters and cam, which the issue that this engine is now, I'm learning about, is being plagued with for some people. And I don't know if it's just these early years of this engine. Sounds like maybe they've improved this over the last couple model years, but the lifters just, the metal doesn't hold up. They fall apart. And what, you could theoretically replace them and replace the camshaft and everything, but it's enough work that when this happens under warranty, Ford just replaces the engine. It's not worth it to do all that work. So the guy's like, look, I asked him like, at least run the number for me and what it's going to be. So it's $12,000. Had we been home, I might start searching for options. Like what can we do? So this guy was like, look,
this guy, he's like, clearly been down this road with people before.
You don't have the extended warranty. Take it home, buy the extended warranty, wait 3 months, take it into a dealership and tell them you're having this problem. And so obviously that wasn't just wasn't going to work. He was like, maybe you could rent a truck or something. We've gone down that path before, trying to rent a truck to tow an RV. It's not the easiest thing to do, but
no.
So what we decided to do then was call Savannah Lakes RV Resort, ask them if they've got room for us to come back. They did.
Yeah. So you call me because when we drop the trailer in their lot, because we can't have the trailer while they're looking at the truck. So the trailer gets dropped in their lot. Jason drives the kids and I over to a McDonald's because we're in a very industrial area, because this is also nearby the airport.
It's like right in the middle. Like we had to drive through the middle of the airport.
It's very strange, but this is clearly like an industrial sort of shipping area. Lots of different mechanics that work on all types of different shipping trucks and, you know, semis and all of this. So the only place the kids and I could go to was this McDonald's about 1.5 miles down the road. So he drops us off over there, takes the truck back, does the whole thing. He calls me. And I said this on the live to everybody, this was the one time that I was operating more from a half full perspective on this glass. And I was like, they're going to put it up there. Fordo's going to get some new spark plugs. She's going to be so happy. Like, and then we're going to head off to the most magical place on earth and everything's going to be great. And he calls me and the first thing out of his mouth is, it's not good news. And I'm just like, I don't even know what I was like. I'm not going to repeat it here on the show. But he comes and gets us. And, you know, and because one of the things the mechanic had said is that you could try to limp this home.
Yeah, we could try to limp it home.
Continue on with your trip and try to limp this home. And I shot that down immediately.
Well, once we got the trailer hooked back up to it and we're driving a little bit, we're like, this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to work.
That truck did not like our little 25-foot Ibex that weighs less than 10,000 pounds on this F350.
No, it weighs like less than 8,000 pounds. You know?
Did not like it. So I call Savannah Lakes and I say, hey, you know, and actually I get their main line, which is someone that deals with all the reservations for CRR. She was actually in Idaho. And I'm telling Sue what's going on. And she is just so sympathetic, so understanding. She gets right back on there. She books us a spot. She gets us into a spot that she thinks is going to be very easy for us to get the truck and the trailer into, that if for some reason we needed to have the truck towed or anything like that, it would be very easy for that to happen in there, that we didn't have to. And she put us in a spot too where no one was coming in, so that just in case something came up and we needed to stay, we had that spot. And I just, in all of that chaos, to have someone taking care of us in that respect and being so kind and understanding, I said it, I've said it over and over. I really appreciate CRR, you know, their Verde Ranch, their Savannah Lakes, their Coachella. They've got like 2 or 3 other properties they're getting ready to open up. Very kind, very caring. They really took good care of us to get us a safe place to stay so we could figure it out. So we turned around and drove the 10 miles. It wasn't
far. Yeah,
it wasn't far.
And in that process and in pulling in and all that, we made the decision to at least, we were trying to figure out what to do, right? So we had sort of made the decision to at least start looking in that area around Savannah for trucks and see if, you know, this is something we hadn't priced trucks in years, anything like that.
No. And it just seemed like we couldn't really in that moment, you know, we had this trip to Disney that was so incredibly important to our family.
It was only a few days away too. I mean, we were going to stop in St. Augustine, but only for 2 nights.
Well, and we were also starting to hear some reports that as the day had progressed and then really into Saturday and into Sunday, that tropical storm was going to turn into a hurricane. It was going to come up into the peninsula, but then it was going to go back out and then it was just going to smash the eastern borders, right? Like, so Savannah and Charleston and all these guys were going to get which it did. And we thought, well, we don't want to be here for this.
We're not going to, I mean, we could have thought about postponing our vacation a couple weeks and trying to replace the engine there and wait there and then at that cost of all that. So
I selfishly was like, we're getting a new truck. I want to be in my resort in Orlando when whatever happens.
And, you know, I mean,
that's where I want to be.
You know, first world problems. And we're so grateful that we're able to do that. World. But also we had already paid a lot of money for that. And that would be another loss, refund. Right? So we we start looking around for trucks in the area. You know, we're trying to figure out, are we even going to stick with Ford? Are we going to get another 7.3 liter gas engine? We were a little.
I said no. I said
I mean,
absolutely not. We don't have the time to do the research.
I was certainly considering that, but
we didn't have the kind of time that we needed to feel comfortable that a newer model on that engine, that they've truly addressed it. And frankly, if we had had the time, I certainly would have taken Ford to the mattresses on this. And I probably would have spent some time trying to get them to take care of this.
The more I've learned about this now, this is something that Ford should have issued a recall for at some point.
They're really lucky that we weren't here in the Quad Cities.
Well, but also we went to a Ford dealership, and I'll get to the financial considerations in a minute, but you know, so we were considering like not getting another Ford and going with another brand. We're looking on websites of the different dealers in the area and seeing what they had available. But we also had this consideration of the factor that we have this giant rack system in the bed of our truck that that carries our bikes and everything, and a lot of the gear that we had with us. So either we were putting that whole system
up for sale,
up for sale over the course of a day, or just giving it to somebody along with the bikes, or we were getting another Ford with the same bed size, right?
Right.
So that's kind of where we landed. Plus, the Ford dealer was only like 15 minutes away.
Well, and so the one that was only 15 minutes away had several that we could go look at that we were interested in, that were in our price point. And
we had a day to do this.
We had less than a day.
I went to this dealership at like 5:30 in the afternoon, and they closed at 7.
Yeah. So
on a Friday,
you know, he goes, so we've got all of these things that we're considering, and we're moving pretty fast. And we had some conversations prior to this trip about sometime in the future, we were going to trade in the truck, and we were really considering going to diesel to be diesel truck owners, just because that is not something we've been diesel owners with the schoolie, but our trucks have always been gas trucks.
And that was like pre-emission stuff. When we bought that school bus. That was 2003, and diesels have changed significantly since then.
Yeah, and we really wanted to be able, to speak to that consumer RVer that has the diesel truck. So this had been something we'd been discussing. The timeline was not supposed to be 18 hours.
We hadn't planned. We hadn't set aside the down payment for it and all that sort of stuff.
It was there was a plan, and then that plan got thrown out the window. So you go to this dealership. I don't go with you because I say, look, I trust you. You know what we need. You know what our boundaries are. Go get us a truck.
Yeah. So I tell the dealer, turns out the dealer was a full-time RVer, which was great. Really cool.
Very helpful.
And he, I'm telling him like, I'm sort of torn between getting another gas truck and getting a diesel. The price consideration, a diesel is decently more expensive. It's about 12 grand more expensive. It's about the cost of the engine.
Right.
So like, that's always been like part of why we bought the gas truck in the first place, was like, well, look, we could replace the engine if it comes down to that.
Or not, because we didn't replace the engine. We always thought if we had to replace it, we'd be somewhere where we could do that.
I mean, the check engine light was on in the truck and everything. And so, I tell this guy what's going on. And what I learned throughout this situation is like, at least at a dealer this size, the dealer, the salesperson and like the sales manager, they're on your side when it comes to the trade-in.
Yeah.
Right. Because that doesn't come off of their balance sheet. It doesn't make them look good or bad, whatever you get on your trade-in. Right. So they're like, look, we're not going to talk about that.
Bruno here.
I'm just handing it over to the people that, look at it and they had that not been the situation, maybe we would have tried to raise a big stink with Ford over this too. But it turned out we got a lot more for the trade-in than I expected.
Well, we got what we owed on it, and then we got more.
And considering even like, I'm
shocking.
looking at like the Kelley Blue Book expectation value, we got about 10 grand over.
I know, which was what we were kind of needing to have happen.
We got what I think the truck was worth if it was in good condition.
You know, this is interesting that you say this, because when we traded in the van
Yeah.
back in
Same situation.
2019
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
Ram that we had, they gave us more for that trade-in than we thought we should get.
Yeah.
And now that is starting to make
Yeah,
sense,
you know,
because when we traded in the
Yeah.
Ram for the Ford,
and maybe they do that on purpose to make you feel good too. But
it could be great sales tactic.
But I also
it worked.
think, well, part of it too, it's like I was like trying to talk them down on price, and they're like, "Look, we're not going to come down on the price anymore, but we can add more to the trade."
But
I'm
we'll
like,
get-
because but so the thing was, you know, we're getting basically our down payment that we needed, plus paying off the loan with this. You know, we know the value of a diesel. A diesel is going to hold its value longer, even though it's more expensive. And like Abby said, we sort of wanted to like have one just to be able to talk about, you know, having a diesel exhaust brake and dealing with DEF and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, I'm talking with this guy about what trucks they have available and looking at them and stuff. And it turns out they had on the lot several 2023s that they were getting rid of that were used with about 4,000, 5,000 miles on them, that were their loaner vehicles. They're all F250. So we actually dropped from a 350 to a 250, F250 Lariats, where we had an F350 Tremor XLT. So it's a lower package. So this one's got a lot more bells and whistles than what we had, except it doesn't have the Tremor package. So this one is sort of more like a it's sort of the limo version compared to the off-road version.
It's maybe not the full-time version. Like for our family anyway, it may not have been.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic truck.
Oh, it's
Absolutely love it. It is costing us more per month.
But it costs us more per month less than what it would have cost for us to put a new engine in Fordo and continue to make our monthly payments and have a 2021 with almost 75,000 miles on it. Now we have a 2023 with 5,000 miles on it, and hopefully an engine that wants to stick around much longer than our last one did.
And a fantastic warranty too, because
the warranty is chef's kiss.
Well, in the first place, the diesel warranty is way better than the gas warranty, right? But we got them to do 150,000 mile Ford warranty on this. So we've got a full bumper to bumper warranty for 150,000 miles in 7 years, which is just fantastic.
I think that they were like, let's not try to mess with these people because what they're coming in off of. But I also think for anyone, this is one of the reasons why I didn't really feel the need to go, right? Because outside of just being another person in the room, I think there is really a benefit to knowing a lot about the product that you are about to buy, whether that is a lot of research that we all do before we purchase an RV or before we purchase a truck or before we buy a home. Knowing when you're about to make a major purchase, understanding that product that you're about to purchase and the ins and outs of it, like you did with the Ford trucks, knowing what you wanted, knowing what you were looking for. I think that speaks a lot when you get into the room and you have to be in the room where it happens, right? So I knew that I didn't need to be in that room because I knew that if I told you one thing I wanted air conditioned seats. That's all I cared about. And we got them.
It is a 250, not a 350. We're not towing a 15,000 pound fifth wheel anymore. We may go back to being fifth wheel owners, but if we do, it's going to be a lighter, shorter, mid-profile fifth wheel. We're not going big fifth wheel anymore. So the 250 versus 350, it's a little bit cheaper. Not much at all, but there's a lot more availability with 250s out there. You get a little bit more comfortable ride if you don't need all that extra payload. And actually, I think it affects your insurance a little bit. Our insurance rate
went down.
Went down for a more expensive truck. So I guess it's all over there are lovely things that I love about this new truck. We miss our old truck.
Yeah, a
But this has
lot.
got, it was such a weird goodbye too, because it was like, I decided on this purchase that Friday night, and we did all the paperwork or anything and everything, and they were going to detail it the next morning, come back and trade in the old truck, so the whole thing was then I needed to take uh
The entire
the trimmer
Lightner system
back to the
off.
campground. We had to take this whole Lightner rack off the back of the truck. All the bikes and everything were already on it, all that sort of stuff, everything out of the truck. We had tons of stuff in the truck as well. You won't believe how much storage space there is in these trucks sometimes.
We found our umbrella.
And then and then we didn't use it.
And
at
then we
Disney.
didn't use it.
And then, the next morning, make the trade in, and then had to bring this back to the campground and put all this stuff back on. It was quite the experience. But first impressions, I think, so we started off towing right away. Like that's all we did. We've towed now
over 1,000 miles.
Yeah, well over 1,000 miles now.
1,500 miles with it. So we didn't make it to St. Augustine.
Yeah.
We left right from the Savannah area and headed straight for Orlando, where we promptly parked the rig in the parking lot of the resort we were staying at, dropped it there, and then went on with our vacation. So we really didn't, we had that drive there, which was about 300-ish miles, I think. And then we had the 1,100 miles back to my parents afterwards to pick up our other car. And then we had the, 400 miles from there to here. My first impression is there's a lot that I love about it. I think what I'm struggling with right now is it has nothing to do with the truck itself, is that the truck feels very precious to me in the sense that it feels very expensive, which makes me feel very uncomfortable. The Tremor felt like this bad A off-road beast of a thing.
So we didn't care if we were going to get scratch on it or
we cared. Yeah. That's the thing. We cared. Obviously, we'd covered the seats and we covered the steering wheel and we did all these things to protect it because it was going to be our travel truck. Like it was our family's automobile, right? Like it was going to take us on all these adventures. It was and it was the only thing that we owned. It
was also the first brand new vehicle we ever bought.
We'd never owned a brand new vehicle.
It's before. Actually still no, we have the Tesla too, but it was the first brand new vehicle we ever bought.
Yeah. We'd never owned anything that had never been driven by somebody else before. And there was something about that truck that I really loved. And I'm struggling with this truck because I really, really like it. But I think that if I had walked onto a dealership's lot and the Tremor and the Lariat had been side by side and I was told I could have whichever one I want, I would have taken the Tremor.
Yeah.
I would have taken it.
But it's got the
friggin' cooling seats
the
are
cooling
so
seats.
great.
It's got the running boards that come out on their own.
The running boards are fantastic.
It's got the heads up display. It's got actually my favorite part about this is
too much truck.
It's got the full like tow package that includes like the 360 camera package. So it's got cameras on the sides. It's got 2 cameras on the tailgate, one that looks down at the hitch, which is so convenient for backing up.
Nice.
It's got the the electric parking brake assist. So when I back up underneath the hitch and put it in park, it doesn't roll 2 inches like the old truck did. Yeah. And that front camera allows you, when you're actually parking, to realize you have like 4 feet in front of you. You can keep going. Yeah. Love the cameras a lot.
I'm very thankful for this truck. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and not trying to talk negative about it. It was a quick shift in lifestyle and a real sort of, maybe for me, like a final to the life that I knew as a full-time RVer. That was the last little connective piece a bit. Yeah, and we're so fortunate. We're so fortunate that it happened where it happened, when it happened, that we had all of these pieces in place that could allow us to do this. If this had happened to us 3 or 4 years ago, it's hard for me to put into words how grateful I am that this business has done as well as it has, because of all of you that watch every week and support RV Miles so that we can make sure that we can continue to do our job for all of you and be in a position where we could switch to a diesel truck and now be able to talk to all of you who are diesel owners as owner to owner and understand what your lifestyle is like as well now. So
I will say to some of you diesel owners, though.
No, you
well, here's
don't come at us that we towed too hard.
I'm not coming. No, not coming at. No, not that. But I mean, I guess partially that. Like, because several people have been. Well, don't you love all that extra power? And no, it doesn't feel hardly different at all.
Doesn't feel
maybe
different.
It will on a mountain pass.
Yeah,
and maybe it will if we're towing a big. But
did it feel different driving in Florida? No,
but we did. I mean, we did come up through, like Chattanooga. We went up some. Not steep grades, but we went up some grades.
Yeah, it was fine.
But the old truck was fine on mountain passes too.
It was amazing.
So,
it was great.
I don't. I still think it's absolutely fine to tow with a gas truck. To the limits that and I don't think the way we towed with our old truck had anything to do with the engine issues. It seems to be a common problem with this engine that could happen whether you tow a lot or not. And, we were...
No. This wasn't like an RV Ford dealership that we were mechanic.
We were nowhere near the towing capacity of that engine, even with the Sabre. We were near the towing capacity of the truck and near the payload capacity of the truck. But that engine is also in... dualies that are in that engine should be able to tow up to like 22,000 pounds.
They call that engine a Godzilla, okay? And I argue that it was more like a chimpanzee.
But Ford needs to do something for owners of these engines with it, because it's only a 36,000 mile warranty, and if this happens to you after that, you're SOL. So I would suggest to anybody that has this engine, and for me,
go
going
get that
forward
extended
in the future,
warranty.
Extend warranty, because it's that big cost is just not worth it.
Yeah. So we should mention as we wrap this up, this was supposed to be a short episode, and here we've got, I know, always, we've got a ton of stuff to talk about in Fresh Tank, Black Tank. But one of the things to kind of couple on this discussion about with the truck is in Detour this week, which is the show we do after this show for mile marker members. It's usually about 15 to 20 minutes. We pick a topic and, we pull back the curtain a little bit and share some more of our life and some of our thoughts. And we're going to talk about this week what or why we are not going to do long trips anymore like what we did.
Like that long.
Like we were on the road for 6 to 7 weeks.
Yeah.
We're going to discuss why next year we will not be doing that.
And the reasons might not be what you think.
They might surprise you, yes. So if you want to hear that discussion, you can become a Mile Marker member for just $7. Try it out for a month. See if you enjoy it. If you do, and you want to stick around and even become a year-long member, we will apply that first month to your $70 annual membership. $70 is 2 months for free. So rvmiles.com/milemarker if you want to hear this discussion or the dozens of other ones we have had since mile markers were born. So we're going to do that. We'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But first, the RV lifestyle is about community. I love talking about community, and that is what is at the heart of RV Life. RV Life recently celebrated the 1 millionth trip planned with RV Life Trip Wizard. I wish we could have been that one. We were not. Their excellent trip planning tools for RVers feature all the trusted reviews, pictures, and tips from their RV Life campground site. RV Life also features several blog sites and over 20 additional RVing forums to serve the RV community. It is a huge space. All this experience and community feedback come together to create a fantastic RV trip planner and mobile navigation tool collectively called RV Life Pro. RV Life has marked a milestone with over 3 billion miles traveled using RV Life Pro, counting both the planned RV trips and the ad hoc navigation with the included RV Safe mobile app. Take 25% off RV Life Pro at the link in the description for this episode. It is time to check the level of our tanks, sponsored by our friends over at Liquefied RV Toilet Treatment, the no BS toilet treatment. They are not kidding. It is no BS. It is not going to be stinky in your RV with Liquefied. You can find Liquefied over at liquefiedrv.com or in their Amazon store. Jay, what is in your black tank this week?
So my black tank is kind of more of a gray tank.
Yeah, it's a gray tank.
So on our way back from Florida, we stopped at one of these new Love's RV stops. So Love's travel stops, big truck stops. They have been investing in. They have a lot of land. When they put a Love's stop somewhere, they buy a lot of land around it, and that's why there's often like a hotel. You know, sometimes there's hotels on their land, and they actually own most of those hotels. They've been very smart about this over the years. And in the last few years, they've seen this boom in RVing and have decided they're going to cater a bit to RVers. So they've built these sites. It started with building just some like sort of overnighting sites.
Those are called RV hookups. So there's two types. There's the RV hookup, which is very basic.
Yeah,
and now there's RV stops.
So the RV hookup is kind of what I would expect when you tell me that I'm going to pay to camp overnight at a truck stop. It's a parking spot, a nice one with full hookups.
Or some of them just have water or electric, but there's some kind of hookup there. There's some kind of incentive beyond just being in a Walmart parking lot.
But these new Love's travel stops are essentially a campground next to and separated from, with big fence and walls and stuff, from the truck stop. And they're very well done.
Oh, this one was so nice.
Very flat level sites, lots of sites, and they have a lot of the sites have covered picnic areas in the back of them. This one had 2 pickleball courts. It had 2 dog pen areas where there was one for small dogs and one for large dogs. It had very clean bathrooms and showers. And there's like a gate code to get in. You don't talk to anybody. You just pull in. And
I believe it had laundry
and all that. I didn't see the laundry.
Did you not see laundry? Okay.
It did. There's a communal fire pit where you like press a button and the propane fire pit lights up and you can all sit around it. Each site had, picnic table and all that sort of stuff.
Splash pad for the kids.
Splash pad. There's a splash pad.
This is RV campground. This is like KOA, Jellystone, RV resort level stuff we all know.
It's next to a truck stop and next to a highway, which is, convenient for an overnight. This is kind of why I think, renting a site at a truck stop is that you're trying to have a quick, convenient overnight. But the sites are very close together. When I say very close, I mean like 2 feet apart. They're very close together.
Now, if you have seen the picture that we put on Instagram of this site, I know a lot of you were really surprised that was Love's. I specifically picked a site that was sort of on a corner.
Yeah.
We ended up getting
insight.
Yeah, we ended up getting a little bit of a corner lot. That was on purpose because I could tell on that map that it was just like, open the door, hi, here's your neighbor.
Yeah.
But we've all seen that at a KOA too.
But
right?
I expected that. I expected there to be a bunch of sites really close together.
Absolutely.
Like that's kind of what I thought. If you were telling me that, Love's is going to start catering to RVers, they're going to start building these sort of mini campgrounds next to their travel stops for people to stay at, I would think they would be catering to the overnighter. They would be offering, hookups and big sites, big long level sites that are kind of close to each other and at an affordable price.
And here's where the gray of all of this, because you're probably thinking to yourself right now, Abby and Jason, you sound like you're talking about a fresh tank. What makes it gray?
It's expensive.
It's expensive, y'all. You go.
Well, it's okay. So there's at this one, there are back-end sites and pull-throughs. And the pull-throughs, I believe, were $65 a night.
I think they were 61 somewhere.
I
They
thought
were in the
ours was
60s.
61.
No, we ended up paying, I think, because ours was a back-in, and it didn't come with. So these were all different priced based on the amenity that came with your site. We only had a picnic table and a fire ring.
We didn't have the covered picnic table.
Yeah, ours was $55 for the night, but that's still $55.
And we had it back in. So the pull-throughs, which I think would be what most people would be wanting to stay out of one of these, because you're trying to do a quick overnight and not unhook and all that, right?
Yeah, they were more expensive.
They're 61 here.
But regardless, that's expensive.
That's expensive for an overnight. I would have thought
expensive.
I would have thought Love's would be putting in some sites with some hookups and saying, okay, we're using these as either we're making a little profit off of them or we're using them
is a way to get people to come into the store.
Get them to, spend $150 on fuel, right? More if you've got a really big motorhome. Or, give you an incentive. You buy over $100 worth of fuel, you get, $20 off or whatever it might be. But this is kind of set up for people to like stay for several days. Like it's a campground.
So to be clear, this was the RV stops, which is the next level up. The RV hookups that they offer,
they're a little cheaper, but not much. Cheaper. Like $53 a night.
Yes. And that would be, I would say, the theme of most of the comments on this photo in Instagram was that everyone praised, much like we're doing, the sites themselves, the convenience of them, even the hookup ones, which are often just like 5 or 6 rows of parking spots or designated parking spots, like on, you just pull in. It's not really set up to look like this. Everyone praised the varying types of RV camping that Love's is offering, but the overwhelming complaint was the price. When you're doing an overnight, and especially if you can be self-contained, why would you spend $61 if in theory you could spend $100 for a Harvest Host membership for the year and roll up an overnight somewhere or go to a Cracker Barrel or go to a Walmart?
I would have rather they just don't put the splash pad in. Don't even put the restrooms in. Don't put the fire pit in.
Well, I think
keep it nice, but like make it something that is, I'm there for the overnight.
Yes, I do think though, and this one was in Cordell, Georgia. I hope I'm saying the town name right. I do think that is also catering to some things that are around there. I know someone had said there's a ballpark close by.
But all of them
are up with games.
I looked through on their map of all of their RV stops. They're all like, they don't all have a splash pad, but they all have all the other amenities.
Well, and and I think maybe also they were feeling that this is what the modern RVer requires and wants.
Well, but if I want that, I do, but not for my overnights. Well, I want that if I'm going to do that, maybe I'm going to go to the campground
we picked
nearby.
This RV stops over the KOA that was nearby. Even though the KOA was going to be a little bit cheaper with us, we picked this one just so we could go and say we've been to one.
Right.
So we could talk about it.
Perfect example.
But we would have
gone to the KOA.
That said, I really like the fact that I didn't have to deal with anyone when we got there. We were able to just check right in and get the code for the gate. And that was it. The check-in. Yeah. That's how check-in should be. Like, if you make me do all that pre-check-in stuff, don't you ask me to come inside.
Don't lead me on your golf cart.
If you're going to make me do everything online before I get there, why do I have to come in? Like, why do I have to come in?
Anyway.
There are so many really positive things about this.
It's great. And they're fantastic. Yeah. It's just not what I would have done.
But it does not make financial sense. And I think that is why that campground was as empty as it was when we were there.
The RV hookup sites that are a little cheaper is more in line what I would have thought of. But I remember when those came out, they were $40 a night. And I thought that was expensive.
Well, they are still in that price range. And that is expensive. It is expensive for an overnight. Now, we need those kinds of things in the summer. And I think there's a reason why these are all along 95, right? Like as you're heading through the South. Yeah. In the summertime, I'm not boondocking. I'm not sleeping without air conditioning. you can call me like a princess RVer,
Oh, it was
whatever.
It was
but
too hot.
there's
It was too hot
I'm not
for,
doing
you
it,
know,
and I'm
yeah.
not doing it with the kids. So yes, I can. I was very grateful to have this place to go to be able to plug in and have air conditioning, and even to dump our tanks, because we were, kind of done with our RV trip in that respect. So, but the price point is just, it's not in line with what you think of,
Because you're still
and what you're offering
you're
us.
still by the highway. You get all that highway noise.
You get trucks
Yeah.
coming. I mean, we were right up
Yeah.
against the truck lot. So, it's very active throughout the night as trucks are coming in, semis are coming in to stop for a while or to fuel up, and they leave those diesel engines running. It's not a resort. It looks like one, but it's still a Love's. It's not a resort, but it was really nice.
It was. Had it been
shocked
a little bit away from the highway, and
I was
with sites that were spread out a little bit.
And if I had family in that area, I would take them up on their week or their monthly if I knew I was just going to be over at my parents' house most of the time.
Weekly and monthly rates. I would have expected that that's what they were going to do at a truck stop.
I would take them up if I was visiting the area and wasn't going to be at the rig much. All right, what is in your fresh tank this week?
So we've been talking about rallies a lot on this show. So my fresh tank is a rally from our friends, the Border Hookups. They are a duo that are full-time RVers, and they perform basically like classic rock style music all around the country, and Canada as well. Pretty sure Dave's from Canada, but I'm not sure. And they are part of a rally called the Romp It Up rally that is happening October 30th through November 3rd at the Santa Cruz County Fairgrounds in Arizona. So it's an event that, like we were talking about, it's like a communal event with just lots of music and entertainment. It's not like an educational rally. And I think this is a really exciting thing. And I really hope they do very well with it. They're going to have live music, activities, good vibes, great swag bags, and great company at the Santa Cruz Fairgrounds. And they're just really, really great people. So
they're really good musicians too.
Yeah.
We've had the pleasure of hearing them perform a couple of times, and they're very good musicians. They write some of their own music as well. They're very talented. I wish, part of me is like, maybe, because we're supposed to be in New Orleans for the Taylor Swift concert at the end of October.
Make a side trip to Arizona.
But why not just trip over to Arizona afterwards and get some more music?
It's over Halloween too, so they're going to have like a costume party and all that sort of stuff too. So it's going to be
sounds like
a lot of fun. So
blast.
we'll put the information for that event in the description if you're interested in going. All right, Abby, what is in your black tank?
Okay, I'm gonna keep this quick because we've been at this show for a while now. So we got an email from the Florida RV Super Show, the Tampa show, as a lot of us know it. And they have indicated, as of this recording, as of August 21st, that the fairgrounds where the show is held every year has said no camping in 2025. So as of right now, and some of you may have received this email as well, but just a heads up that as of right now, the Super Show and the fairgrounds are at odds here, and the fairgrounds are not going to allow camping during the Super Show.
There's folks that have rallies as part of that event. Different manufacturers have rallies, but the fairgrounds got really eaten up last year. There's a lot of rain right beforehand.
That is, I think, the main cause of this. I know we weren't on the fairgrounds last year for the show. We were there the year before, and even the year before in 2022. It was there was a lot of, it was kind of chaotic a little bit in the arrival of everybody and figuring out where everyone was going to go, and the ground was a little saturated. There were still some issues with the turf around there. And then I know that last year, prior to the Super Show, an email did go out to people who were, I believe, boondocking in the dry camping area, saying to them, you might want to consider making
not dry camping.
It is very wet camping. You may want to consider making other arrangements. And I do believe if I remember correctly, that those people who didn't, that there were some people who continued to go ahead and dry camp there, that there were some issues with people getting stuck.
Yeah.
So if it happened that last year was just incredibly, the ground was very saturated, I imagine that that was a lot of damage to the fairground. And so there's probably that. I'm guessing they anticipate, yet again, it's January in Florida. They're probably anticipating it being wet. And this is the decision by the fairground. Now, the Super Show indicated that they are going to continue to try to work with the fairground to work something out. But as of right now, if you were banking on camping on the fairgrounds for the Super Show in January, which is, I believe, running somewhere around like January 13th through the 19th, but don't quote me on that. It's somewhere in there. If you were planning to be there, camping may not be an option for you, which if that is the case, it is going to get very difficult to find camping and get into campgrounds around there,
because that's a
hundreds.
That's a lot of the attendees. I mean, that's the clientele for this event is a lot of people that are,
it's dozens and dozens and dozens
potentially
of rigs.
upgrading. Like this is what makes this event special, is that like a lot of the buyers are not first-time buyers. A lot of them are experienced buyers. So you get a lot more quality rigs there. And
now my hope is that they might be able to figure out some ways where there's pavement docking available, where we can do some pavement RVing. I know where we stayed, we were on pavement when we were there.
Yeah, but that was sort of the vendor camping area, which is,
yes,
that's still probably going to exist. But
even some of the vendor camping area is, if I remember right, we passed some vendor camping area that was grass.
Sure. Yeah.
So, this is a situation that's developing. But, again, if you're thinking about going, you might want to have a backup if they cannot work out with the fairground to allow RVers to RV there over the event.
Okay. What's your fresh tank?
So my fresh tank goes to a sneaker company. They sent us a pair of sneakers, Jason and I both, several months ago. The brand is called Kuru, Kuru. They sent Jason and I, we both have the Atoms, ATOMs, and we really held off on talking about these until after Disney.
Yeah, these are our Disney shoes.
So I want to fresh tank them because I want to say that look, my feet were tired by the time we left Disney. My feet were tired. But I wore these shoes for the bulk of the time that we were there. And I would go to bed at night having logged, according to my watch, 27,000 steps that day. And I was still able to get up the next morning, put these shoes on, and head back out into the park. And part of that is that they just have this really cool system that they have developed that's really focusing on the heel of the foot and really creating these sort of dynamic cushioning of the heel that really helps with pain relief. They really focus on essential workers, people who are on their feet all day long. And yet the shoe is still really, really stylish. They are expensive, but at this point, all sneakers are expensive. They're $160 a pair, but we have worn these all summer.
They look good too.
They look good, but they held up. We were at Disney for 10 days.
Yeah, logging like almost 30,000 steps a day.
Yeah. And these shoes really, I think my feet came out way better than they would have because of these shoes. So just if you're looking for a new pair of sneakers and you want to try something out and you're someone that does a lot of walking, this particular shoe we have is for the everyday workout walking. They've also got them designed for runners and specific needs. So go check them out, KURUfootwear.com.
That's it for this week's episode of the RV Miles podcast.
Wow, that was so energetic. Yes, it is. And thank you all so much for joining us. Hey, if you haven't had a chance to go over to Apple Podcast and leave RV Miles a 5-star review, would you take just a second, pop over there, leave the review, and hey, maybe even think about leaving a comment. Let us know what it is you like about the show. Is it our travel destinations? Is it our Fresh Tank, Black Tank? Is it just the fact that like sometimes we talk about things that are so unbelievably random you can't believe we're talking about them? Who knows? Whatever it is, if you could help support the show in that way, we would truly appreciate it. Just head over to Apple Podcast or think about sharing the YouTube link with a friend. But until next week, we do hope that you stay healthy, you go out there and continue to explore, because for a lot of us, the school season has started, the kids are back in school, camping is getting a little bit harder, but we can still do it on the weekends, and we can continue to log those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.